Lock in all sports, all plays, all 5% best bets from now until Super Bowl 57 on February 12th, 2023 from your favorite WagerTalk handicapper for only $1,199 versus a regular price of $1,999 for one total savings of $800. This limited time super discount comes out to less than $100 per month and only $3.28 per day. As an added bonus, your all access starts immediately, so the sooner you buy before Super Bowl 56, the more additional days you will get for free. Just go to WagerTalk.com, choose your favorite handicapper to lock in, and don't forget there is no limit to the amount of handicappers you can redeem our Super Bowl to Super Bowl offer on.
It is Friday, February the 11th, last weekday before the weekend. More importantly, last Wager Talk Today before the big Super Bowl this weekend. So we're going to dig into the Super Bowl as we've been doing each and every day this week with even more information, more props than ever. I am Steve Merrill, once again filling in for the Prez. He'll be back on Monday. He's on assignment as we speak. Teddy Covers joining me as my co-host, as always, WagerTalk.com. And Teddy, it's our last chance to get all the Super Bowl information in before the weekend. And, of course, if you missed the show live at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. every day, Monday through Friday, you can always watch it here 24/7 on Wager Talk TV, also on your favorite podcast app. You can listen to us whenever you please. And look, we're going to start off as we do every Friday with Rob Veno. He's going to look at an NBA game, also the Super Bowl, and then more importantly, well, not more importantly, from a different perspective, I should say, we've got the two prop experts. Isn't it appropriate that we have the two prop experts from WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com to finish off the week? That, of course, is Matt Joseph, SportsMemo.com, and Andy Lang, WagerTalk.com. And, of course, they're going to look at some props for the Super Bowl as well. But before we get to all of that, Teddy, I need to know something. Did you learn anything last night on Thursday?
So we got to stop for a minute here because I thought we were doing all Olympic coverage all the time today.
I know. I've been thinking about that. We've neglected the Olympics, Teddy. It's funny you say that, though, because I actually have been watching. Last night's actually the one I didn't watch much of it, but I've been watching a good amount of it. And that did occur to me. We haven't mentioned the Olympics all week. I thought of that the other day, Teddy, so it's funny you say that.
And we're not going to start today either. Obviously, the Olympics are for mainstream people. The Super Bowl is for sports bettors. But we talk about what bettors learn. I've talked about this each of the last 3 days, and it keeps going. NBA favorites, 5-1 again last night. Brooklyn, Washington, I call that a pick 'em. The Knicks won straight up, but Memphis, Miami, Toronto, Dallas, Phoenix all cover. NBA chalk, 34-6 with a couple of pushes against the spread since Saturday. This has been a monster run for favorite bettors in the NBA, and it's still going. So that's one thing we learned yesterday. The other thing we learned, so I was taping yesterday, and of course, I did a show that's going to be on local affiliates all over the country. It's called Beat the Odds. That'll be on it. You can check your local listings over the weekend. I know it's playing here in Vegas a couple of times, and it's 74 affiliates across the country or something. I don't know when it's playing. But I was shooting all day yesterday with a bunch of guys, and it was the difference between going live like we are here versus live to tape is live to tape. Every time you screw up, you start over. So there was a whole group of us. You couldn't say Bengals. You had to say Cincy. You couldn't say Rams, you had to say LA, and you couldn't say Super Bowl. You had to say big game or something else. And between us, take after take after take after take, someone saying one of those three buzzwords. It was a long shoot yesterday, buddy, but a lot of fun. And again, you can see that Super Bowl preview. It's called Beat the Odds on your local affiliates this weekend with me and Brett Favre and many other big names. That's what I learned, Steve. What about you?
Well, I'll piggyback on the NBA thing real quick. 7 games tonight. 6 of those 7 games, Teddy, have favorites of 6 or more. 5 of the 7 games have favorites of 7 or more. So once again, if the favorites are going to cover, they're going to be covering by double. They're going to be winning in blowouts most likely. I got to jump on what you just said also about the retakes. And I learned this earlier this week, by the way, not necessarily last night, but about 4 or 5 days ago, I was reading an article about how really nobody can say Super Bowl. And I don't want to make it a big deal since we're saying it right now, but you must be on a pretty big time show if they're worrying about that, because obviously we don't worry about it here on Wager Talk Today. But yeah, there's some fun, interesting stuff if people want to read up on it. The Super Bowl even tried to trademark about 15 years ago either Super Bowl Sunday or Big. They do have Super Bowl Sunday, I think. The big game. They even tried to trademark the big game like 15 years ago. And Stanford Cal actually was one that put their foot down there because they've had it since the 1800s. My Virginia Lottery here, my home state, and has Mega Millions is the big game in a lot of different states. Kind of silly stuff, but I'm surprised about Bengals Rams. I had not really thought of that before. And Teddy, could you even say NFL? I mean, is NFL taboo as well?
So I think the issue is that the show was sponsored by a sports book, but I don't know exactly what the issue was. I thought all this stuff was behind us at this stage, where you can't say Super Bowl and you can't say Bengals and you can't say, you can only say LA or Cincinnati, but obviously it isn't. And you talk about a big time production. We had to sit down, each one of us individually had to sit down and answer the questions we were being asked with the lawyer in the room, that the lawyer is going to say if we said anything wrong, and what we can or can't do. So, and that's the corporate lawyer, whatever, that's his job. It's tell us what we can and can't say. And so, yes, they were very serious about following the regulations, which is something that when you're not on broadcast TV, you don't worry as much about.
And what's the name of the show again for this weekend so people can find it?
It's called Beat the Odds. Yeah,
Beat the Odds.
Yeah,
Beat the odds this
affiliates.
Weekend. Check your affiliates, check your guides. Search it on your device. And can you imagine, Teddy, if we had a lawyer in the room before every Wager Talk today? I think I'd be guest hosting more for the Prez if we had to run everything through the legal counsel before you guys did this show live every day. Noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. And one guy that would clear the lawyers without a problem, the loquacious one, Rob Veno. Rob, you would have made a good lawyer. I think Teddy and I would have made great lawyers. Prez would have made a good lawyer as well, actually, in all honesty. Rob, though, would have won more cases probably with his methodical approach. And Rob Veno, you've dominated the NBA for a couple years now. Trade deadline was yesterday. We're going to look at a game, Cleveland, Indiana, but any other takeaways here with what's going on in the NBA? As Teddy said, favorites continue to crush the lines.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week, guys. Certainly you had to be careful. I kind of had to make a list of teams in the morning that I couldn't get involved with because I thought maybe a potential trade was coming. But I mean, the big news was Brooklyn, Philadelphia, right? I actually, guys, went through and took a look at the 1 through 10 on each side in a rotation if everybody's healthy. And I come away, thinking that slightly Brooklyn probably still is the better team if all were to go right. Just a little bit more shooting, more accuracy in shooting on the Brooklyn side now. But that's going to be a heck of a battle. That becomes an instant rivalry. The animosity between players makes that an instant rivalry. And March 10th probably can't come quick enough for those here in the Philadelphia area. They're pretty ecstatic with the trade for James Harden. I thought Boston made the best move, though, guys. Derek White from the Spurs, to me, to add into the Boston backcourt was a big move. So I won't get too deep into it. I thought the Kings did a pretty good job as a low-level team to improve themselves. And we'll see what happens here. I mean, the second half is just about underway.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rob, we'll be doing more talk with the NBA here at 4:15 Eastern tonight on Friday. I'll actually be on NBA tip-off. So once again, we'll have more recap of the NBA trades and the weekend action here at 4:15 Eastern. Before we get to the Super Bowl, though, do you have any actionable info for tonight? Give me a game you're looking at.
Yeah, well, we'll just get right into it. We're going to look at Cleveland at Indiana. Going to play first half, Cavaliers. A couple of reasons here. Obviously, Indiana, I mean, they may have to wear those, like business meeting name tags on their shirts to figure out who each other are because they certainly traded away a bunch, acquired a bunch. They were already using lineups that, even guys who follow the NBA on a daily basis didn't really recognize. But tonight it looks like, again, Malcolm Brogdon, questionable. Isaiah Jackson, questionable. We'll see. Malcolm Brogdon has not played in 20 of the last 22 games. So I don't know how effective he could be anyway. But you're looking at probably O'Shea Brissett, Chris Duarte, Goga Bitadze, Buddy Hield, and Tyrese Halliburton probably make their debut in the backcourt here. I think that, the cohesiveness is yet to come for this team, guys. I mean, when you barely know each other, how can you get going right off the bat here? So I like that angle for the Cavaliers, who are certainly a more settled, more solidified team. The Cavs did acquire Karis LeVert, but it's his second game with the team. Came off the bench, sixth man the other night, 28 minutes, had 11 points in that 28 minutes. I think the matchups and styles here are polar opposites. We know the Pacers want to go up tempo. They play very little defense. 29th in defensive efficiency is what they rank in the last 10 games, as opposed to the Cavaliers, who rank number 2 in defensive efficiency the last 10 games. And that's just not a 10-game number for both of these teams. I mean, they've been kind of what they are right now for the majority of the season. The good thing about Cleveland is the last 4 games they've played have all been against similar style teams. Lots of tempo, little defense. One of those even was against Indiana on Sunday, where they beat Indiana 98-85. Of those 4 teams that Cleveland's played in their last 4 games, they've held 3 of them. These high tempo, high production, high scoring teams, they've held 3 of them to under 41% shooting. So, in the Sunday game, they held the Cavs to that number. They crushed them in the second half, 62-38. They walk through the first half, which happens sometimes on Sunday afternoon games. And then final thing here, I think you would say, why first half? Why not full game? I think you want to take advantage of the Pacers' unfamiliarity with each other in the first half. Don't wait till the second half where maybe they get a chance to go into the locker room, make some adjustments. Indiana on Tuesday night with a very similar lineup against Atlanta. They were down by 26 at halftime, completely blown out. But they won the second half, 62-57. So for me, first half, probably a little better angle here. And for Cleveland, it's the first of a back-to-back. Tomorrow, they've got a trip to Philadelphia. So if you're the Cavs, obviously, you want to get in, get your work done, maybe rest guys in the fourth quarter. So I think for those reasons, I like first half better. Give me the Cavs -4 first half over Indiana.
So, Rob, let me start with this. I agree with everything that you said. Everything.
Okay. Good stuff.
Here's my question, though, and my concern about the Cleveland side for this game. We talked about the second half run out for the Cavs against the Pacers when they played just this past week. And it wasn't really a second half run. It was a fourth quarter run out. The Pacers went into the fourth quarter. They had the lead with momentum, feeling good, and then Cleveland shut them down pretty good. Indiana didn't hit a shot for extended stretches of that fourth quarter. In a short turnaround revenge spot, in a game that was tight for most of, for a good portion of the contest before Cleveland pulled away late, are you worried at all that the Pacers can hang within this number, especially given the Cavs' failures covering in this road chalk role? Or is that you think the first half is a way to get around that concern?
I think the first half is a way to get around that today. And I think the first half, especially tonight, because I think that first half Sunday served as a little bit of a wake-up call. When you're a head coach, you need something to preach to your guys. And, heading into this game, J.B. Bickerstaff is just going to say, remember what happened 5 days ago. We're trailing by 11 at half. Let's not let that happen again. Big game with the Sixers on deck. Let's get this thing done. Get you guys some rest. Move on to the next step. So Cleveland, by the way, is only 1.5 games from the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, which is amazing. So they certainly are playing for something here. While Indiana, we don't know if they're playing for lottery ping pong balls or what they're playing for here, but certainly there's not a lot of familiarity on that side.
Yeah, Pacers just 2-7 straight up and ATS their last 9. And, Cleveland had been one of the best spread teams in the league. As Teddy said, Oklahoma City Thunder and Cleveland were cashing tickets all year. Cleveland was 28-14 against the spread until mid-January, and then they went 1-6 ATS, but now they've gone 3-0 straight up ATS the last 3, Teddy. So they're cashing tickets once again.
Well, the whole thing is when everyone's talking about the Eastern Conference and who the contenders are, Brooklyn and Philly and Milwaukee and Miami, no one's talking about Cleveland as being a team that's real. And if you're watching the Cavs every night, the Cavs are real. And they continue to be, in large part, an undervalued commodity in the betting marketplace. They really have been. This
year's New York Knicks. Defense, right? Defense first. So we'll see if they can do what the Knicks did, make the playoffs, and then falter in the first round and do absolutely nothing. That might very well be Cleveland this year. We'll see, though. They've been a point spread machine. All right, Rob, before we get you out of here, we got to ask you about the Super Bowl. How are you going to play this game? You just gave us a first half with the NBA. You see any value with the first half maybe in the Super Bowl? It's something we haven't talked about on the show this week.
I do, and I'm going to play the Rams team total over 13.5 in the first half. And really, the first reason I'm going to give you here is enough for me to bet the game. I really didn't have to dig. I did dig and got a couple more reasons because that's just who I am. I want to be thorough about stuff. But off of this first reason here, and it just all for me goes back to head coach Sean McVay for the Rams. The burden of that offensive failure against the Patriots in 2018 in that Super Bowl just weighs on this guy. Offensively, they put up 3 points. Offensively, they put up 260 total yards. They never got into the red zone in that game in 12 possessions. Never. They had 0 third down conversions in the first half. Johnny Hecker had 9 punts by early third quarter in that game. It was a season high. It was a disaster. And Sean McVay was outcoached by the guy on the other side who's outcoached a lot of people in this league. But the problem with McVay, and he knew it after that game was over, you guys remember well, I'll just quickly say that he never adjusted one bit, never any up-tempo offense to maybe get New England out of sync defensively, never any cadence change, nothing. And I think for 3 years, that's weighed on a guy who's known as an offensive coach. So to me, he's got another chance. He's probably looked forward every day since then to this chance. And he's got Matthew Stafford now instead of Jared Goff. I think he attacks right away in this game. I don't think he's going to let time go by and sit there and wait and see what's Cincinnati going to do and then sit there and not adjust. He's learned a lesson. I think for that main reason, the head coach here, the play caller for this team, LA, comes out of the chute quick. Now, just to back that real quickly here, the Bengals defense, while there's been a lot of praise for them, the praise has been about second half adjustments, right? But they haven't been good in the first half, guys. First half, the Bengals have allowed 14 or more points in 5 of their last 6, 7 of their last 9, 9 of their last 13. So it's not just a recent thing. It goes back 13 games where they're giving up in 9 of those more than 14 points in the first half. The Rams, on the other hand, have scored 14 plus in 3 of their last 4. To me, I think this correlates with the sudden emergence of OBJ as a prime target, along with Cooper Kupp on this team. You know, for most of the season, OBJ went unnoticed. He's not unnoticed anymore. More people playing his props receiving yards over than ever the last couple of weeks. The only time Los Angeles in their last 4 games didn't score 14 or more points was their most recent game against San Francisco in the conference championship. In that game, first half, Rams got 199 yards in 4 drives, almost 200 yards in only 4 possessions. They scored on a 97-yard touchdown drive. They got to the San Francisco 3 and threw a deflected pass interception. And then they missed a 53-yard field goal. Matt Gay had been 4 for 4 from 50-plus this season. That was the first miss from 50-plus all year long. The chances were there for that team to get 14, possibly 17 points in the first half in that game, where I'd be saying that they've done it in all 4 of their last 4. I think they get them here, guys. Cincinnati defensively, like I say, has been more of a let's get toasted in the first half and adjust in the second half from a defensive standpoint. I like Rams over 13.5 in the first half here.
In the Super Bowl against New England, Jared Goff, 19 of 38, 229 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 4 sacks, a QBR of 16.4 in that game. How much better is Stafford than Goff in a game of this magnitude? Is it infinite, Rob? Is it night and day? Or is Stafford incrementally better than Goff was in that contest?
I don't know that it's night and day, Teddy. I think it has more to do with the playbook where there's more options for stuff that you can call. That Super Bowl, when we think back, there was more horizontal passing in that game. That's why the statistics you read off just now sound like they do. 19 of 38 for 200 and something meaningless yards. You can't attack downfield, but this guy you can attack downfield. The playbook gets opened wider. It makes the defense have to respect more. So I don't know if you would call that infinitely or if you would call that incrementally, but however you define it, I think it just allows the head coach here, who obviously wants to perform better offensively, wants to get more production out of his team's offense, has a more wide open playbook in this game with this quarterback.
So Rob Veno likes first half Rams, first half over the total, maybe a little bit of a faster start than we've seen in years past in the Super Bowl for a team that has a little bit of experience, maybe not a quarterback, but the team was there a few years ago. We'll see if they start faster than they did against Belichick and company. Rob, we talked about the NBA. I said how good you've been over the years at the NBA. You're hot once again. You're the number 1 NBA capper the past 7 days at WagerTalk.com. A nice 19-11 run over the past week. You've got an NBA best bet tonight. What else can people get tonight and this weekend at WagerTalk.com from you, Rob Veno?
Yeah, the Super Bowl package is going to go up later on this evening. Got a few shows to do here before I get these up, but it will include very quickly 10 props. You just heard one of them. 10 props plus a bet on the game itself. So you can get that all at wagertalk.com starting tonight. Also been hot with college basketball best bets. And on tomorrow's card, I believe I'll have 2 or 3 of those. So you want to check out the college hoop as well. For tonight, like I say, NBA's up and available right now. There's probably going to be more. Just have to wait for the flow of news that comes through on an NBA day before we get too crazy with our plays. So that's what we got up and available, guys. Go visit wagertalk.com.
It's another great reason to have a direct subscription, because the minute Rob posts something, any of us post anything for our clients, you get instant alerts, you get the plays, and you get the actionable info right away. That's Rob Veno, WagerTalk.com. And before we get to more Super Bowl props with Matt Josephs and Andy Lang, Teddy, I want a little bit more NBA talk from you. We got big game breakdown here, 30 seconds, Timberwolves and Bulls from Teddy Covers.
Celebrate with Teddy Covers as he hits the 50,000 plateau on Twitter. Right now, you can get a 7-day all-access pass for only $50 using coupon code TC50 when checking out on Teddy's 7-day pass. That's 7 days for less than a 3-day package and $49 savings from regular 7-day all-access price, coming to just $7.14 per day. To redeem this special, go to Teddy's homepage at either WagerTalk or Sports Memo and use coupon code TC50 when checking out for his 7-day all-access pass.
Time for today's big game breakdown. There's nothing better than when the intro stalls for a second with my mouth wide open like that. Always a good look. Let's talk a little NBA for Friday night. The T-Wolves and the Bulls. This is a really intriguing matchup right now. Looking at the Wager Talk live odds screen, I'm seeing Chicago -3. Total sitting at 240.5. That, folks, about as high a total as you can find. This series has been nothing but overs. 4-1 of the over the last 5. Last year, 121, 117, 133, 126 in OT. Both cashing overs. It's worth noting the 121, 117 wouldn't cash an over in tonight's game, given how high the total is. So the series history between these two coaches is all overs. We have a situation with both teams' current form pointing really heavily towards the over. T-Wolves, 7 of the last 8 games cashed over tickets. They're number 1 in the NBA in pace. 4 of their last 5, and they haven't just gone over. They've gone over by double-digit margins. Same story in Chicago. Chicago has cashed over 7 of their last 8. They're playing fast. Over by 18 points or more in 5 of those 7 games. You know, it's not like these two teams can't score. Both top quartile in the NBA in scoring. So we have a series history of nothing but overs. We have a Bulls team that's missing all their best defenders. We have 2 teams that are playing with pace on a night-in, night-out basis. There is some injury concerns here that has this game here as opposed to a client play. You know, we don't know if Minnesota is going to have full complements. Both Russell and Edwards are game-time decisions, supposedly. I'm assuming they're playing. If they play, we expect this game to get up and over the total. So check that injury report. If Minnesota's healthy, this game too should cash another over ticket for anyone who's been riding either of these two teams over the total. Another opportunity to do so on Friday night. There's your big game breakdown. Steve, back to you, my friend.
Thank you, Teddy Covers. And once again, you know, it is official. Teddy turned 50. And that was this past day or so. You know, I was afraid we were jinxing you, Ted. You were 49.9 those first couple of days you were running this promo, and you don't know exactly how close you are to 50, but it's official. You hit 50K, I believe, yesterday or at some point a day ago on Twitter. So you can still get that special, and this is your last chance to do it this week before the weekend hits. TC50, TC50, 7 days, all sports, including the big game this Sunday with all his props as well. Teddy Covers, WagerTalk.com, TC50 half price for a full week. And Teddy, I looked, if you add up the other four of us on the show today, we're less than half of the followers you have on Twitter. So you are popular, my man. And that's
Well,
Teddy _Covers. Not that you need any more followers. I'm at Steve Merrill, 2 R's, 1 L. Rob Veno Sports. And our next guy, Mid-Major Matt. And of course, it is Mid-Major Matt on Twitter because he digs between the lines, some of those mid-major colleges, conferences. And of course, he is a prop master, which I also think is kind of digging through the lines at sportsmemo.com. And Matt, this is a great time of year for you prop masters. You and Andy Lang coming up next. I got to lead it off. I mean, what are you looking at here in the Super Bowl? I'm sure you approach the props kind of as we do, as you figure out how the game might be play out, and then you kind of dig in there and try to find some angles. You got some good ones. You've got one that actually involves college hoops, which I want to save here. Let's start off, though, with how many players you think get a rush attempt in this game. The over-under currently around 8.
So this is kind of like what Teddy talked about last week when he just did the Bengals side. The number is 8, and I like the under here. And it's quite simple because I think there's actually some wiggle room when you look at it. I mean, McVay came out and basically said Darrell Henderson's going to be in the mix. Who knows how much he's going to actually run the ball, or if he even does, it could be a decoy. But let's just say the Rams have Michelle, Henderson, Akers, Stafford. That's 4 of the 8. We're halfway there. The Bengals guaranteed that Mixon and Burrow are going to run. That's 6. So that gives us 2 for a push, 3 for a loss out of a group that involves Cooper Kupp, who's run it, Van Jefferson has run it, Jamar Chase has run it, Tyler Boyd's run it, and Samaje Perine, who only has 2 carries in the last 5 games total. So I need plenty of trick plays here, which I don't think necessarily I'm going to get. Not only that, I need potentially 3 trick plays to lose this bet. So with 6 guys that I know are going to run the ball and 2 kind of openings here, I'll take the under here. And at worst, I think we're going to push this thing. But I think there's a good chance under 8 people will rush on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, and I love the thought process there. When you talk about 8 as being the right number, it's really hard to get to 9. And it's not necessarily as hard to get to 7 in that instance. So one of those situations where, yeah, you might push, but you're getting the best of it if you do push. I love this next prop you want to talk about, but this is one where the books are going to hold your money for a couple of months. Gonzaga, tourney wins in the big dance versus Tyler Boyd receptions. Talk to me about this prop.
I mean, this one's quite simple, and this one's subjective to everybody and based off of how they feel about Gonzaga. I love Gonzaga this year. I think they win the national championship this year, or at least get to the Final Four. That's 5 or 6 wins. The championship's the 7th win. So you look at Tyler Boyd's numbers, he does not approach 7 receptions quite often. Lately, he's had, 2, 1, 4, all this different stuff. So I think Gonzaga is going to go far. I think they make at least the Final Four. And I'm going to take Gonzaga on this side to have more tournament wins than Tyler Boyd. But this is one of those bets that if you think Gonzaga is a team that's going to lose early, you're going to take the Tyler Boyd side. But I don't. I think Gonzaga could win the national championship. That gives me 7 wins. Tyler Boyd's not having 7 receptions. So give me the Gonzaga side of that prop for Super Bowl Sunday.
Isn't it 6 wins to win the national title, 2 each weekend? You make the Final Four, it's 4 wins, and then 5th one if you make the title game, and 6th one if you win it. Am I missing a NCAA tournament game there?
Correct.
Okay,
I was just giving an extra one, but that's fine. 6 anyway. Tyler Boyd's not getting the 6 receptions anyway.
Well, the question is 4. If Gonzaga makes the Final Four, they win 4 games. You're saying you expect the Zags to make a deep run. If the Zags win 4, is that enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think, once again, like we talked about with the first one, the worst thing that happens is you push there. I don't think Tyler Boyd gets 5 receptions. So, and this is all dependent upon, as I said, some people think that Gonzaga is terrible or that they're not going to make it that far, so they're not going to place this bet. I have high hopes for Gonzaga this year, so I'm going to take it. And, Tyler Boyd gets 4, they make the Final Four, we push it worse, but I think it's better than that.
The man has a mid-major Gonzaga Bulldogs pennant behind him, so he's obviously bullish on Gonzaga as we speak. Yeah, and also you can always hedge, Matt. Like Teddy said, the money's tied up for an extra month or 2, but you could also hedge if you wanted to based on once you know how many Boyd receptions are, you know exactly what your Gonzaga wins ticket over under is at that point for the next month or so. This one's interesting also, Matt. We've talked a lot this week actually about field goals. I think Dave Sherapin started it off on Tuesday in his discussion with us. He said that's one of the more public props he'd seen was over 3.5 field goals in the game. I think Kelly brought one up yesterday, another guest we had. I mean, a lot of people like field goals in this game. It's understandable. 2 very good kickers. How about this prop? Both teams will kick a field goal of at least 35 plus yards. Do you like the yes or no in this one?
I like the yes, and you make sure to shop around. Some books don't have it as a plus. Some books do have it as a plus. So therefore, I would make sure to shop around because it's a big difference, a minus 110 versus a plus 110. And look, we've seen this playoffs. You've seen multiple field goals from Matt Gay. You've seen multiple field goals from Evan McPherson. And we know that Evan McPherson's kicking field goals to 50, 55 yards plus. And it's an indoor game. You probably won't have anybody kicking it short. Matt Gay, I know, kicked one short 2 weeks ago at home. But these are two coaches that don't necessarily go for as many fourth downs. I actually was looking at the fourth down props, and these two are towards the bottom in fourth down attempts. So I just think both of them think very highly of their kicker. At a plus price, I will take the yes in this one because we've seen so far this postseason, both of these coaches like their kickers a lot.
What's the limit on the price? Would you lay minus 110 if you had to do it? What's your worst price? That you would still recommend this at?
So it's all personal juice tolerance. When I look at a lot of these props, I'm trying to find pluses that I like value-wise or minus 130s that I'm 100% sure on, or like that I would like stake a large claim on. Because look, there's a chance that the Rams' longest kick is 34 yards and we lose. I definitely think the Bengals are going to get over 35 yards. The Rams are a little bit more of a question. Sean McVay may have grown a pair over these 2 weeks and maybe he goes for it more. So I'm not willing to lay a minus price so much on this one, but it's also juice tolerance. I like the bet. I liked it more at plus 110, but if somebody wants to lay the minus 110, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
That's one of the best lines of the week right there. Sean McVay maybe has grown a pair. I like that one, Matt. It's a good one to end on here. And you are the prop expert at sportsmemo.com. Mid-major Matt on Twitter, and he's mid-major because he digs into these college basketball games. If you're looking for some under-the-radar games this weekend, Saturday is his day for the mid-major action. And Matt, prop 50, that's a pretty good, Teddy's got TC 50 at WagerTalk for half price of a week. You've got prop 50 at sportsmemo.com. And tell us what that gets. I believe it's 50% off your Super Bowl prop package, and you were 6-3, 67% last year.
Yeah, 6-3 last year in the Super Bowl. I've got 7 props up in my prop pack right now. About 3 or 4 we're waiting to kick off on because they're unders, and we want to take them, make sure that we let everybody bet the overs and get better value on the unders. Prop 50 gets you 50% off my Super Bowl package at sportsmemo.com.
And that's mid-major Matt Joseph's sportsmemo.com. Prop 50, half price off his Super Bowl package, includes all of his props. And as he just said, he likes to play the overs earlier. He likes to wait and play the unders later because the public is going to probably push the lines up this weekend when they get involved. And that's another reason to have a direct subscription. When he puts something up there, you get it instantly as a direct client. And Teddy, once again, TC50 for you at wagertalk.com, half price for the full week. All sports. Don't forget college basketball shows on in about 1 hour today, around 1:45 Eastern here. It's Mejia, Adam Trigger, and Brian Leonard today on Friday. And then I'll be back at 4:15 Eastern here with Tony Mejia as well. And also going to have this next man with me on the NBA Tip-Off Show today at 4:15 Eastern. And that's Andy Lang talking some pro basketball. And Andy, we're going to get to an NBA prop down the stretch here on the way. Actually, I'll tell you what. We just talked Super Bowl. Let's talk. Give me an NBA prop first, and then we'll dig into the Super Bowl props. Andy Lang, of course, the prop master at wagertalk.com. And Andy, I know we had the trade deadline. We're going to talk more about it at 4:15 Eastern today on the NBA Tip-Off Show with Joe Ranieri. But what's a prop maybe you're looking at? Give us a little tease here for the NBA tonight.
Yeah, sure. We actually just put a 5% play up. Play that we were waiting to confirm some lineups. We got the confirmation we needed, and so we're rocking with the 5% tonight. But a prop, and this is kind of based on a trade that most people probably didn't know about. But I like Marcus Smart over 12.5 points. His last 4 games, he's had 2 really good ones and 2 really bad ones. He scored 6 against Detroit, 3 against Orlando, but then he had 22 against Brooklyn, 22 against Charlotte. But in the game, he scored 3 points. Dennis Schroeder came in off the bench and scored 22. And he's not there anymore. He's part of that blockbuster trade involving Daniel Tice going back to Boston. Really shook the NBA at its core. But he's got a great matchup tonight. He's playing Denver, but the big thing is Monty Morris is out. Bones Highland will get the start. And if you've ever watched Bones Highland attempt to play defense, it's not pretty. So Smart has a big physical advantage on the perimeter. I expect a big game from Smart and Brown. I think this 12.5 points is way too low. I expect Smart to get near the 20 mark in this one.
So, Andy Lang, you are the king of all media today because you're not just doing this show and the NBA Tip-Off Show. You're also recording by SiriusXM, where we're going to talk Super Bowl props. You can hear that on Sports Grid this weekend. Of course, you can get the podcast version of Cover It with Teddy Covers at all major podcast outlets. So you're a busy man today. I got to ask you this, though. What about Derek White? Does Derek White come in and steal some of Smart's minutes? It's not like it was Tice. It was the only guy they got. And White, I would think, is going to be a big contributor for Boston moving forward. I don't know if he's going to play tonight. I haven't seen the details on that. Are you concerned about that element with Marcus Smart over the total?
Well, yeah, I thought about that, but I have several reasons to think Derek White either may not play, or if he does play, it'll be sparingly. First off, this is going to be a good game against Denver. The point spread's only 5, and Boston is coming off a stretch where they've beaten 8 really bad teams and lost to 1 good one in this stretch. So I think this is going to be a close game, and I don't know why Boston would force it with a guy that is not used to this rotation. No, I guess I would say no, Derek White doesn't bother me. I don't see him getting big minutes. Schroeder was at least familiar with the rotation and familiar with the guys on the team. I think if this game is close, they're going to ride with the guys that know the roster and know the rotations. And if White doesn't play, Smart's going to play a lot of minutes, giving us a little extra advantage. So I think White plays. If he does play, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes. I just don't see him getting a big workload.
And just one more quick follow on that. Sorry, Steve, I don't want to cut you off, but I want to. You use Marcus Smart as points versus points, rebounds, and assists. What's the thought process versus one versus the other?
Thought process is with Horford, Robert Williams, and Jokic, there's not a lot of rebounds to be had. Those guys will be gobbling up a bunch. And assists, it's pretty tough, especially when you've got some ISO guys like Tatum and Brown. Brown has got a great matchup as well as Smart on the outside. Tatum's a shot creator as well. I just want to isolate the points because, as we touched on earlier, Smart is going to be guarded by not Morris. He's going to be guarded by Bones Highland. Big mismatch for him.
And once again, Andy will be on NBA Tip-Off with us at 4:15 Eastern today on Friday, talking more NBA props. If you like what you just heard there, he likes Marcus Smart over 12.5 tonight. You'll get even more info on several other games tonight at 4:15 Eastern. Of course, archive 24/7 here, as every show is on WagerTalk TV. And we're going to dig into the Super Bowl now from the prop master. And we got 3 of them here. We're going to save the best for last, and that's the national anthem prop. And it's so funny, Andy, because the 20-plus years I've been doing radio and TV, the national anthem prop was always one of my favorite things to talk about, along with the hot dog eating contest. Gabe Morency and I have dug into those for years. And all the shows I've done this week, I was thinking about this yesterday before I saw what games you were using. I had not discussed the national anthem. I couldn't even remember who was singing it because I just didn't dig into it as much as I normally do. But it's Mickey Guyton. We're going to get to that here at the end. You're actually not looking at the over-under on the time, though. This is a little bit of a different take on it. And I'm researching it right now, by the way, as we speak. But let's start off with fumbles in this game. We had Kelly Stewart on Wednesday. People can go back and watch her Super Bowl segment with us. And she has Matt Stafford to fumble at plus 475. Obviously a big payoff there. But you're looking at the over-under fumble props. Both guys have taken pretty good care of the ball this year, at least the quarterbacks. I think that's where you have to start, right? Because they have the ball basically every play. Running backs obviously probably have more fumbles, but you don't know who's going to have the ball. Anyway, lost over-under fumbles, 1.5. I could see 1. Do we get to 2, though? That's probably the key number in this one.
I don't think so. And one of the keys here is lost fumbles. So even if they fumble and their own team recovers, that does not count. So Cincinnati has only lost, believe it or not, 7 fumbles all regular season and postseason. They've done a really good job of taking care of the ball. The Rams only lost 5 in the regular season, and they had that crazy game where they had 4 lost fumbles, and it was a big worry with Cam Akers. But he came back. He did not fumble last week, so I think the Rams now have worked with him on that. Obviously, it's going to be a big concern with ball safety, and I don't expect to see the ball on the ground a whole lot. Akers has probably been told your one job is to not fumble the ball. If you get 3 yards, great. Don't hurry and try and push for 4. Just keep control of the ball. He did a good job on that last week. Cincinnati doesn't fumble. So as far as lost fumbles, that's a key. Lost fumbles, I don't think we get to 2 on this one.
And what kind of juice you have to lay with that prop, Andy?
Check your book. I'm looking at, I played it at minus 165. I don't know if that has changed at all or not, but one of the tough things with these Super Bowl props is now that we have all of these books the lines are so different from book to book to book. Line
Yep.
shopping is it's so important these days, and it takes time. Believe me, I worked so hard yesterday, and I think I must have had 6 or 7 books pulled open with 50, 60, 70 cent different books. So I just can't stress it enough. Today and Saturday and Sunday, check your lines.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, we always talk about money management and shopping for line value. I always say those two things are more important than picking the right game or side or total. The Super Bowl is the epitome of that, right? Because you're going to find more variance in every single bet you can make. And then money management, once again, folks, have fun with this, right? You got your 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 props. You're going to have some correlations there. So you better not be putting a full unit on every one of them. Then all of a sudden you become a 5-unit player when you think you're playing 1 unit on an outcome. But Andy likes under 1.5 fumbles. By the way, I believe NFL games average 1 fumble per game this season. So you would have to have above average with 2 teams you think are taking care of the ball. They're going to probably throw a little bit more than average as well. And Cincinnati, 5 straight games with no turnovers, and then they had 1 in each of the last 2 playoff games. So they've taken incredible care of the ball. We'll see, though, if the big game factor chimes in, though. Sometimes we see weird things in these big games, but makes sense mathematically. Before we get to that national anthem prop to finish off the week, what a great way to finish off the week. I love it. We're going to look at Joe Mixon. Ralph Michaels sent us over a lot of info yesterday, and Ralph's free prop was actually, what was it, Teddy? Mixon over receiving yards, right? Like in the mid-20s, I think, 26.5 receiving yards.
Yeah.
You're looking at rush attempts here. So you also, Andy, thinks Mixon's going to be involved maybe a little more than others realize. He wasn't as much at the beginning of the year. Over-under rush attempts, though, is 16.5. He's catching some receiving and some screen passes, which is what Ralph thinks. Do you think he also gets over 16.5 rush attempts?
Well, the nice thing about that receiving prop is that's one catch. That he'd easily break a screen pass. He could have one catch for 29 yards and you cash that one. It's a really popular prop. I agree with it. But I lean over on the 16.5 rush attempts. He's gone over in 2 out of 3 playoff games. What stuck out to me was last week when they went to handing the ball off to Mixon on first down in the second half. They just a complete commitment to running the ball into the line. It took some pressure off of Burrow, and I was watching it kind of laughing because the announcers were ripping him for it. I thought, well, it seems to be working. It's giving Burrow a down that he doesn't have to worry about getting crucified on. And it worked. Cincinnati ends up winning the game, and he also got 21 carries for it. So if you do something that works, I don't know why you would completely get away with it. I think Mixon is going to be the workhorse. We saw Samaje Perine getting basically no carries in the playoffs. They're committed to Mixon. He's been playing well. I think the Bengals commit to that running game, especially on some of the early downs. And if the game is remotely close, they are not going to get away from it. I look for a similar game plan as what we saw in the second half from Cincinnati. And if they do that, he will fly over the 16.5 rush attempts. I expect Mixon to get over 20.
I know we're talking Super Bowl, but we do have breaking news in the NBA and a game we already talked about earlier in the show. So I want to deliver it right here. Darius Garland for the Cleveland Cavaliers has just been ruled out for tonight's game. The money pouring in on Indiana. Unfortunately, we don't have Rob Veno on to see if that affects his thought process on the game. But if you are going to go with Veno's play and play the Cavs first half, wait, because the line is coming down in a hurry right now. Let's talk national anthem. And of course, with the national anthem, it's very important to note you cannot bet these props at legalized, regulated U.S. books. This is all for entertainment purposes only in faraway places. That being said, what do you got for us?
Well, let's talk about Mickey Guyton's cleavage, shall we? And this play let's go in depth. Will she show cleavage during the national anthem? Yes, we're talking about 2 boobs. I don't mean you guys. It's minus 200. No. And I'm going to play the no as one of my bigger plays of the Super Bowl. So when she performed at the Grammys, no cleavage. The American Music Awards, when she performed live, no cleavage. The CMA Summer Jam, no cleavage. On the Today Show, no cleavage. And Jimmy Fallon Show, live, no cleavage. Live at the Capitol Studios, no cleavage. But in her music videos, Remember Her Name, that's one music video. She let it all hang out, showed cleavage, and in her music video, Heaven Down Here, she shows cleavage. We have a very clear pattern. When she does music videos, let the puppies fly. When she performs live, cover them up. I have Mickey Guyton to not show cleavage during the national anthem.
So
Yeah, Andy.
who,
Yeah, go ahead, Teddy. What's your
How does
take on
that
this,
get
Teddy?
graded?
I know you've done your research.
The follow-up question. Let's do a follow-up on this one.
well, the follow-up question is obviously one of the reasons you can't make this bet legalized and regulated in the United States is because it's subjective. One person might, that's cleavage. Another person might say that's not. And you have no recourse, say, oh, no, that was cleavage. It really was, or it really wasn't. Does that concern you at all with a bet like this?
No, because the outfits that she was wearing during these live performances, they're up there. And the definition of cleavage is a split between the two. So you need a clear split between the two that you can see. And she's been rocking some turtlenecks. She's been rocking some all the way up to the neck. I think this is going to be a very, very clear and concise no cleavage.
You know the Prez is wishing he'd come back one show sooner to have this discussion. And I mean, can you imagine if he was here? We'd be like another 10 minutes from the ending of this show. He'd be going on and on. I thought the same thing, Teddy. I was like, cleavage is pretty subjective. So what I did was I Googled Mickey Guyton images, and a bunch pop up. She has a little bit of cleavage in some. Even that's not that extreme. But you're right, Andy. Everything I could see from awards, I mean, she's wearing like turtlenecks. So I think this is actually going to be a pretty easy winner. And I wasn't familiar with her. I don't think many people are. She's not going to make a grand statement as a country R&B Texan here at the Super Bowl. So I like this one. I was curious what the juice was. Minus 200, as Teddy and I have talked about. Don't be afraid to lay juice on some of these props. I think this is one of them. The over-under, as you said, Teddy, also that's been subjective over the years. They added that it's the first time they say home of the brave or land of the free, the last word, because they'll repeat it sometimes. They've missed lines before. They've dragged out the last note for 20 seconds. I mean, it's fun stuff, but there's a reason that the legal sports books are not allowed to involve themselves in this because a lot of controversy. Andy Lang says no. He likes cleavage. He's conflicted. He likes cleavage, but he says no cleavage for the national anthem. And I'm with him.
I want to see it
for my limited 2 minutes of research that I've done live here. And Andy, all seriousness, what do you have for the Super Bowl? You are the prop master all year long. This is your bread and butter day, basically, as far as props go. Super Bowl Sunday, WagerTalk.com. What can people get from you, Andy Lang?
Well, we have the Super Bowl prop pack up. It's been up for a week and a half, so you can go grab it. I'm not having a ton of plays. I'm really working on narrowing it down. That being said, a lot of props have been released today, so I would expect you can get about 4 to 5 really, really solid, concise plays that rank a little bit higher. I'm kind of going with quality over quantity. Honestly, in years past, I've been tripped up by having too many plays. So I don't want to do that this year. I want to make sure I can give out 4 to 5 plays that result in a profitable Super Bowl. That's up on WagerTalk.com right now.
That's awesome. And of course, we'll be talking NBA props in a couple hours. Andy will be on at 4:15 Eastern, along with myself and Tony Mejia and Joe Ranieri for NBA tip-off 4:15 Eastern. Don't forget the college basketball show in 1 hour at 1:45 Eastern here as well on Wager Talk TV, and it's archived all weekend long. Teddy, I'm going to have my college basketball top 25 video again tonight on Friday for this Saturday's big games. Also, my final NFL Fade the Public video will be up this Saturday for Super Bowl 56. I'm going to look at some props as well, and of course, the side and total. I've got some public information on that. Teddy, I've enjoyed hosting all week with you. You'll have the Prez back for Valentine's Day. How fitting. You and him will be together on Monday, February 14th, the two Valentines. I'll be sitting back and enjoying it from the sidelines and watching. All seriousness, I've loved having been with you all week. It's always great hosting with you. Thanks once again to Rob Veno, Matt Josephs, Andy Lang, and especially thanks to you, Teddy Covers. TC50, last chance for Teddy for half price, TC50, WagerTalk.com. Hey, take us home, take us into the weekend.
Sure, that's going to wrap it for the week, guys. And listen, it's important. Super Bowl, one game. No matter what you bet on Sunday, make sure you got something to come back to the table with on Monday, win or lose. That being said, enjoy your weekend. Good luck. We'll be back 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern on Monday. Cheers.
Fan of Super Bowl props, but not in Las Vegas for the big game? Hosting a Super Bowl party and want to keep everyone entertained? Wager Talk has you covered with our Super Bowl party prop sheet. The concept is simple and is easy for anyone to participate and follow. First, download and print out our Super Bowl 56 party prop sheet. Pass out to everyone at your Super Bowl party and determine the entry fee, if any, and payouts. All they have to do is circle their choices for each prop. And since almost all of them are 50-50, it does not require someone to be a huge football fan or understand sports betting to participate. To get your free Super Bowl party prop sheet, just go to wt.buzz/props and follow us on Twitter at WagerTalk the day of the big game to get results in real time.